Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Ultima Plays Final Fantasy VI. This will be episode 5 of that. In this episode, we are making our way through Mount Cults. So let's head on up here through here, and here we've got a new enemy. So if I can steal a bandana from these guys, that'd be cool. It's a item you can steal, but I haven't been able to steal it yet or before. Something to notice, I actually in the last episode, if I remember correctly, I got a copyright claim on one of the songs in this game. That copyright claim was claimed by some weird Latin kind of like company. It's a company I've never actually heard of, and the only time I heard of it was the other day, and to be honest, you'd think the music by Nobuo Uematsu that he was contracted to make for a game for Square Enix, both parties involved being Japanese, all the copyrights to that would be by them. So in this instance, why wouldn't Square be the ones copyright claiming me for it? And why does the Latin company have copyright claims to some Final Fantasy songs, let alone songs composed by Nobuo Uematsu? Also, another thing I noticed was that within the past few days, in fact, not even the past few days, in the past few months, no, past few weeks, that's the one. Within the past few weeks, right, there's actually a funny little thing that happened the past few weeks, and that thing, this is a new enemy by the way, is that the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster came out, and guess what happened? I bought it, so I have Final Fantasy VII, or not Final Fantasy, of course I have Final Fantasy VII, I have Final Fantasy VI, and I'm playing it here on the NES emulator. So this is the NES emulated version. But I also now own a legit copy of Final Fantasy VI through the remaster, which we're gonna want to go. Oh, here's those enemies again. But yeah, I now own like an actual legit copy that I paid for of the Pixel Remaster, and it's the first time I've actually owned Final Fantasy VI in years. The last time I actually owned. Oh, there's the bandana. So I got it now. I don't need to focus on it. These guys are weak to poison, but I haven't been using the Bioblaster up until this point. But like, yeah, I haven't or no, they're not weak to poison. They're immune to poison. What am I fucking doing? I'm healing them. But yeah, it's kind of like they're weak to fire, obviously. But no, it's like the last time I had a physical copy of the game that I owned that I can claim was a legit copy was years ago when I first played Final Fantasy VI and obtained a copy of Final Fantasy VI for the PlayStation 1. I never owned the NES version, or the SNES version, or Super Famicom version. And mostly the reason why I never owned that one, the cartridge-based version, the one we're currently playing now through emulator, the only reason why I never really owned that is mostly due to the fact that it came out 2 years prior to my birth. The NES version came out in 94. I was born in 96, right? So there wasn't really much I could do about that one. So it's like, eh. But yeah, there wasn't much I could really do about that. You know, I would have been like, let's put it like this. In 1994, I didn't exist. 2 years later, I was born. And by that time, in 96, if I remember correctly, Final Fantasy VII would have been released in Japan or something, wasn't it? Yeah, because like the SNES or SNES version of this game came out in 94. Or something like that. Actually, let me get my phone and check that, because I'm pretty sure this was a 94 game. I'm trying to remember what year that was. Let's see. Yes, April of 94, right? And then FF7, the game to come after it, was originally released in 97. So there was like 3 years of development in between 6 and 7, which means there were no Final Fantasies released by 96. 96, Final Fantasy VII was still in development and wouldn't release until 97, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look at the Wikipedia. So, yeah, it was released, initial release in North America was in 94, and that was for the Super Nintendo. But it wouldn't see the PlayStation release until 99. Right. So think about it like this. My personal history with this game, it was the first Final Fantasy that I ever owned, right? Okay, we're back. So yeah, it was the first Final Fantasy I owned. Bush said first Final Fantasy was already out for about 2 years prior. The first Final Fantasy to be released. And then a year later, when I was 2 years old, Final Fantasy VII, the first Final Fantasy to be officially released in Europe. Ooh, what was that? What was it, like fourth Final Fantasy to be released outside of Japan? Because the first Final Fantasy to be released outside of Japan was Final Fantasy 1. The second numbered title to be released outside of Japan was Final Fantasy, I believe, 4, renumbered as Final Fantasy 2. Thrilliums, huh? Okay. Fire, kill it with fire, please. But yeah, it was like Final Fantasy, 2 or something, is what it was retitled as, because it was the second international release. Final Fantasy 6 was released as Final Fantasy 3, because it was the third game to be brought over. So yeah, it was a very interesting time. And then Final Fantasy 7 was the fourth one to be brought over to the West, and the first numbered title that Europe would get. A revived lock later. But yeah, it was kind of like an interesting time. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII comes out, everybody's raving about that, and then it wouldn't be on, because yeah, I was born in 96. That was the year I was born. It wouldn't be... I would celebrate my first birthday, well, technically first birthday, in 97. In 98, I was 2. In 99, I was 3. So by 99, I was 3 years old. And that's when the PlayStation releases of Final Fantasy VI came out. But it wouldn't be until I was 4 in the year 2000 that I would actually own a copy. That's when I get my hands on my first copy of. That would be the first time I would pick up a Game Boy and play Pokemon Silver. It'd be when I first played a PlayStation and played Final Fantasy VI. At that time, Final Fantasy VI came with a demo for Final Fantasy X, a game that would later go on to be a PlayStation 2 game. Final Fantasy VI was Final Fantasy VI was originally a SNES game, and Final Fantasy 2, its demo, or not Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy X's demo would be placed on a PlayStation 1 disc. So the demo disc for Final Fantasy X, a PlayStation 2 game, was on the PlayStation 1. Weird times we were living in. But yeah, so I got to experience a little bit of Final Fantasy X and a little bit of, if not a lot of Final Fantasy VI. I never really got past the opening hours when I was younger, because when I was younger, I didn't have the patience. It wouldn't be until a little later that I would actually get a good bit into the game, like a decent way into the game. I believe all my characters at that point were, level 35 to 40? Somewhere in between those levels. But I never completed it. Never. Don't know why. It's an incredible game, and it was my first Final Fantasy, so I was all like, it makes me remember as to why I even decided not to. I don't know. I'm just going on rambling now. I'm trying to use my magic outside of battle, but apparently this game doesn't allow magic outside of battle for some reason. Yeah, magic. I can use poison outside of battle. Oh, it's because I don't have the MP. Hold on, I'll fix that. Yeah, this is probably one of the only games where it doesn't matter if you use your ethers or your elixirs early on, because even if you use your ethers and elixirs early on, you've only got one character that can actually use them, really. That is a sweet upgrade. Pass it down. Oh yeah, that's the thing I was remembering. Ether. Because yeah, you only have one character in this that can. At the beginning of the game, it's the only character with MP. It's the only character going to be casting magic. So yeah, that's how I came to own Final Fantasy VI on the PlayStation. I was 4 at the time, so my patience wasn't great, which means I don't think I don't think I really put effort into playing the game at the time. Like I was saying before, I don't think I put the effort into the game, into playing. Mostly due to the fact that... Oh yeah, something else I learned while taking my notes for this episode is evasion doesn't work. The evasion percentage doesn't work. I'll show you. So if we go into here, you see all the way down there it says evade percent, 35%. Well, yeah, that doesn't work. The evade in this game is actually not, it's not actually the evade, it's the magic block percentage. See, down the end there, there's a stat called magic block percent, and it's at 2%. The higher that magic or magic block percentage goes up, which it's currently at 2%, the higher chance of evasion. So that's what I mean. But yeah, like, there's something else I forgot to do, and that is Gigas gloves. I suppose they're called that. Originally they were Atlas armlets at some point in one translation. Yeah, give those to him. Right. Oh yeah, I need to heal up. I'm going to use... We're going to arrange... But yeah, it's kind of like a 4-year-old like myself, like I was. 4, almost 5-year-old, I would guess, at that time. I just couldn't get through the game as much. Like, I didn't have the patience, I didn't have the concentration or focus. And realistically, the game, it was fun, but it was kind of like I would always make so many mistakes and cause myself to restart the game from the very beginning just so I wouldn't make those mistakes. Because we didn't have like the guides and the ability to take notes on what we should do and what we shouldn't do, right? And so it wouldn't be until I would be maybe double that age, so about 8 years old, 8, 9 years old, right? When I actually attempted it again, and that's when I actually got to about 20, or yeah, to about 35 to 40 in that level range. So my characters were all around. But I didn't actually get further than that. That was just me being like putting the game down and then at some point losing it. That's all that was like, the thing is, at some point I put the game down, I took the disc out, and here's a new encounter. Well, not really new encounters, it's the same encounters we've had before, but in a new arrangement. But anyway, it was kind of like, you see, the way I think about it, it's all like, I just took the game out, put it back in its case, put the game case somewhere, and I just never found it. I lost my original copy somewhere, and I don't know where it went or whatever. And after a while, I traded in my PlayStation 1, so it's all like, I didn't have the PlayStation 1, I didn't have my original copy, I don't know what I did with it. It may be in a box somewhere up in my attic. See, it was a weird kind of like experience. And then for many years, I just never owned a copy of the game. I had to rely on emulators because I couldn't find any copies of the game, and even if I did, I didn't have an SNES at the time, and I still don't have a physical SNES, but also I didn't have a PlayStation, to play the PlayStation version, and it wouldn't be a while before we got digital versions of the game, so I just didn't have the time or the money at that point in my life. in my childhood and whatever to buy or download the digital versions. Like, I didn't even get the originals, the original release, or the original release for the Steam version of the game. Like, the original Steam release, I had to, like, it took me until the Pixel remaster to get the newest release. Saban, is he here? You were shadowing us earlier, right? What the hell are you talking about? It doesn't matter. Who are you? I will not surrender. Woe is the day you met me. Met me. It'll be the last day of your lives. Vargas. Gonna steal. Gonna heal up because not looking good there. Bio Blaster does not work on him apparently. Let's use Noise Blaster on these bookers. Steal. Noise Blaster didn't work? Well, that fucks us over greatly. Steal. Oh, we can't target him yet. Bio Blaster. One of these gotta work or something. I don't know. So they have high potions on them. But yeah, took me until the Pixel remaster to actually get what I needed. I clearly picked the attack command for lock, but finally we can get through to this guy. Bio Blaster didn't work on the other guys, but I bet you it works on him. Yeah, it does. Bio Blaster works on him. Cure, please. Thank you, Terra. Go. Knife. Felt very very sad. And since my ownership of Final Fantasy VI with PlayStation 1, I have gone through and owned many copies of various Final Fantasies. Oh, great. Give it up, Vargas. So you've come, Sabin. Why, Vargas? Why did you kill Master Duncan, your own father? A fool. Snubbed me, his only son. He chose you as his successor. That's not true. Our master, you lie. It's written all over your face. He wanted you to be his successor, not me. He knew you had the most potential. Enough. Your lies. Now, you have a taste of my superior technique. Mortal attack. Blizzard Fist. Oh man, here we go. Oh, Saban. The master taught you well. I guess there's no avoiding. I'm getting my characters mixed up. I guess there's no avoiding this. Fate made us train together, and fate will send you to your doom. Doomfist. Prepare to join your beloved master. Come on, Saban. There's no going back. He has the Blitz command, but it's a very awkward thing. And we were annihilated. I'm gonna meet you guys back there. I'll cut out here and meet you guys back in the fight. And we're back. I'm back in the fight. Just before Sabin shows up. There we go. I finally did it. 4 fucking seconds to spare. Okay. I don't have to edit any more of those. I'm back. I finally actually made it through that battle, and thank fucking God we won't have to do that kind of thing again now that we've got Edgar unlocked and Vargas defeated. Trying to pull off his fucking blitzes while that fucking countdown is happening as well. That's like, I haven't played this game in a long ass time. As I said earlier, I only just recently got the Pixel remaster, so playing that, like, when I get to this point in the Pixel remaster, I'm like, I hope it's easier. I hope the input registration, or the registration of the inputs for Sabin's blitzes is easier to input. Now let's continue dialogue here. So we're on the way to Saber Mountains, to the returners. I don't know, doubt. I've been watching from afar, hoping that the world might regain some sanity. At this rate, I was afraid Figaro would be reduced to a puppet state. Our time to strike back has arrived. No, he's starting to sound a little black. Edgar's not black. Our time to strike back as a empire's going to pay for what it has done. I am no longer the left out. I think a bear like me could help you in your fight. You join us, Salmon. I think Duncan would appreciate the rest easier. I think Duncan would rest easier if he knew his disciple played a part in bringing peace to the world. Well, I'm trying to get Locke's voice now. Well then, let's get going. Terra has said nothing there at all. And we're in a cave. And now that that's done, that will be the end of this episode. I've got to get working on editing out all that. I'll see you guys, all you guys in the next episode. Saban is awesome, by the way. Actually, before we end the episode, I want to check what he's got. What equipment do you have, Saban? Metal knuckle? Bandana. Yeah, we can equip the bandana on him. So we'll do that now. But he's got he's a martial artist, so he doesn't really wield like anything but like metal knuckles and stuff like that. Just making sure we're all geared up properly. Yeah, no, he doesn't require shields. It doesn't. It seems like. So I guess I'll leave that here, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.